Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, fifth graders, whatever time of day you're at. I'm so happy that you're joining me here to practice some math and to get some quick tips from me, Miss Fields. So let's get started. This week we've been focusing on making the connection between distributive property and standard algorithm. Now, as we've talked about before in class, standard algorithm is the quick and efficient way for you to multiply multi-digit numbers. Less steps than the box method, less steps than using distributive property. However, it requires a lot of organization to make sure that you get the correct product. So notice here that in our equation, I have my work very nice and detailed and set up in an organized way. I've got my ones place lined up here. I've got my tens place lined up here. Again, I want to emphasize it's really important that when you're using standard algorithm, you're making sure your work is neat and organized. So again, coming back to our multiplication problem, if you don't remember how to multiply some single digit numbers because you haven't memorized it yet, don't fret. Get your multiplication chart ready to go, and let's start multiplying. Okay, so we're going to start here with our ones place, 6 times 7. And I know off the top of my head, because I've memorized my multiplication facts, that 6 times 7 is 42. Again, if you haven't remembered your facts, don't just guess and start putting random numbers down. Use your resources. Use your multiplication chart. So 6 times 7 is 42. I know in my head, I can't just write the 42 right here. I need to put down a number and carry. The number that we're going to put down is the ones place in the 42, which is 2. And then our next step that we're going to do is we're going to carry our 4. Our 4, which is our tens place. Remember, keep your work nice and organized. Make sure that you clearly draw 4. We don't want to get confused and think this is a 9 or an 8. We want to keep together our number of 42 because 6 times 7 is 42. Not 92, not 82, 42. All right, back to our multiplication. We've got our tens place here in the 36, and we're still multiplying it by the ones place here in our 27. 3 times 7 is 21. However, we're not writing 21 down here. We can't forget about that 4. So what we do with that 4 is we don't multiply it by 21. We simply add it into the product. So 3 times 7 is 21, plus 4 is 25. So what we put down here is our 25 to get a product of 252. Next step, we're moving over to our tens place in our 27 to multiply it by our ones place in our 36 and our tens place in our 36. So because we're moving over to this 2 in the 27, it's not in the ones place, it's in the tens place. So down here in our work, we need to leave a placeholder. This placeholder shows that we're multiplying by 20 and not by 2. Also notice up here, I scratched out my 4. I know that I'm probably going to need to carry a number over here, so I want to make sure that I'm not going to confuse myself with previous work, so I simply just crossed it out. All right, back to the multiplication. 2 times 6. Again, if you don't remember what 2 times 6 is off the top of your head, don't guess. Use your resources. Use your multiplication chart. Use a calculator. So I know in my head, 2 times 6 is 12. So I'm going to put down my 2 here because 2 is in the ones place of the 12. And then I'm also going to carry my 1 up here. Moving on to the next part, we are going to multiply 2 times 3. We know 2 times 3 is 6. Add in that carried 1, 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So now we've got 252 and we've got 720. Is this our product? Kind of, but not yet quite there. We need to add these numbers together in order to get the product. Again, super important that your work is nice and organized so that all of your place values are lined up. 2 plus 0 in our ones place, we've got a 2. Moving over to our tens place, we've got 5 plus 2, which is 7. Moving on over to our hundreds place, we've got 2 plus 7 is 9. Put it all together and we've got 972. 972 is the product of multiplying together 36 times 27. Again, super important that you guys keep your work organized in order to make this process of multiplying using the standard algorithm quick and efficient. If standard algorithm, if the steps in this process confuse you, I highly recommend you go back to using box method and checking your work if you're just getting started on practicing using this method. Thanks so much for listening, guys, and I can't wait to see you in class.